Piccolo. What tipped you off? The malevolent Namekian jeered. His clothing was fully transfigured now, Nail's jacket replaced by the hauntingly familiar dark purple. Raditz smirked. What have we got to worry about? Piccolo had maybe a bit of power in reserve, but he's still somewhere close to Nail's level. We can handle him. It's not quite so simple, Kaioshin said gravely, again the bearer of bad news. Babidi's spell. It draws on the evil in a being's heart, seizes on it, and then amplifies their power in proportion to that evil. You mean, Goku asked anxiously, the more evil somebody is, the more powerful they get? Yes, that is why petty thugs like the 2 humans he recruited only improved to a low level, whereas under Babidi's spell Dabura became far more than what he was before. Well, that isn't good, Gohan muttered. Goku nodded, glancing warily at Piccolo, who seemed content to watch them fret for the moment. What? Kibito interjected. What's the problem? Piccolo was originally part of another Namek, hundreds of years ago, Gohan began. But he sensed that there was darkness in his soul, so he split in 2. Launch took over, feeling that Gohan's explanation would have been too long-winded to put up with. He separated out the evil in him, and that part became Piccolo. And now he's got all the power of both halves, plus a third Namek. And now this. Kaioshin seemed to understand. Oh my. You mean, this Piccolo is a being formed out of pure darkness, comprised entirely of evil? That's about it, Goku confirmed. This is terrible, Kibito hissed. A creature like that under the influence of Babidi's magic. He could become unimaginably powerful. I know of no more terrible being other than Buu itself. Piccolo interrupted, striding towards them. Yes, I've been wanting to test that. He raised one arm, clawed finger pointing at Goku. You. I still owe you. I beat you 3 times, and you still want more? This time will be different. I bet. Goku grunted, almost snapping into Super Saiyan. Can't say I don't expect this from you. Shall we? Piccolo made fists at his sides, keeping a level gaze on his longtime nemesis. We'll see how long you can keep up that calm attitude. A noise from behind interrupted Piccolo. The door slid open and Dabura re-emerged. As we thought, there's one of them you have a grudge with. You might say that, Piccolo growled. We'll have to work on your attitude later, Dabura sniffed. But often the new ones need time to break in. You crush your enemy and I will attend to the rest. There are a lot of them, after all. Do as you will, Piccolo said evenly. There was a brief explosion of light and sound, followed by the now familiar rush of magical teleportation, and the party found themselves in the ruins of a small town. I see, Kaioshin said slowly. We're still near the ship. This is the area Babidi's troops destroyed before we arrived. He turned his head away at the sight of the group of corpses, a dark look falling over his face. Raditz moved slightly towards Dabura. I think I know the real reason you came back. An amused expression played over Dabura's features. You think so? Yeah. You want to fight me, right? Not just hold us off in general. I keep getting in your way. That is true. The technically dead Saiyan laughed as Dabura summoned his sword again. Oh, be patient. I'm not done. You will be, Dabura warned, raising his weapon. I think Gohan should finish his fight. Raditz continued, ignoring him. What do you guys say? Gohan indicated himself. Me? You saw what happened last time. I have to agree, Dabura said irritably. This is no child's game. If he continues to fight, he will die. No. Raditz cast a curious look Gohan's way. Not if he uses his full power. He approached Gohan, turning his back on the demon. Gohan, you discovered Super Saiyan 2 first. Show him. I really can't, Gohan said quietly. Sorry, I mean, I could maybe access it for a few seconds, but fighting is another matter. Hey. Gohan almost froze at the voice in his head. His father's. He glanced in Goku's direction, saw the slight smile, knew it for telepathy and not merely his imagination. Gohan, he's right. You can beat Dabura. Gohan didn't feel the need to reply yet. Goku had heard his earlier protests. I know it's hard, but there's anger inside you. There's always been. Sleeping beneath the surface. So many enemies have found out, to their cost, that when you unlock that power, there's nothing that can stop you. I don't want to! It's not a sin to fight for good, son. But I still don't know how! I can't just get angry on cue! At that, his head began to burn again. Voices started to pour in. He knew them for what they were. Dying screams. Last breaths. Not now! It's happening now! I don't need to see anymore! He recognized the voice. Videl. Another. Goten. More. His mind went blank, rational thought vanishing for an eternal instant. One solitary notion cut its way through the void. Is this the future? Or just a future. Dabura was unaware of all this. What he saw was Gohan double over, involuntarily going Super Saiyan. Then, on the verge of collapse, he seemed to recover his mental strength. His knees bent slightly. One fist pounded into the ground. His head rose slowly. A rumbling noise, like an approaching storm, rolled past Dabura's ears, as if from a great distance. Something changed about the boy he was facing. Boy? No. More a man now. Odd. Why did I think that? What's different? Raditz drew in a sharp breath. There it is. You wanted full power? Gohan slurred between clenched teeth. Super Saiyan 2 transformation completed. He attacked. Are you done? Piccolo asked mockingly, having detected Goku's telepathic conversation with his son. Goku nodded. Yeah, thanks. Alright, if we're going to do this. He raised his arms beside him, letting out a yelp of effort. Yeah! An electric tang entered the feel of the air around him as a second-level blue-gold aura ignited. I'll go all out from the start. Plus, if I can win quickly, Buu will get less of my energy. Seems you haven't been idle, Goku. Piccolo rolled his head from side to side, flexing his fingers. You're a lot stronger than Cell was, easily powerful enough to destroy this entire solar system. Well, I relish the challenge. This fight's been a long time coming. Then get ready. Lowering his head, Goku rushed Piccolo, feet pounding the road as his hypersonic charge built up momentum. He threw a straight jab at Piccolo's temple, aiming for a quick knockout blow. However, Piccolo's hand shot up, blocking Goku's strike with his right arm and letting the shockwave of the impact blast the front of a building behind him. You look surprised. You thought it'd be easy. Goku frowned, stepping back and raising his guard. Damn, this is going to take longer than I hoped. I told you that you would suffer for letting me live, Piccolo said in a low voice. He shifted forward slightly. Then there came a blur of movement, and Goku saw the heel flying at his face slightly too late. He jerked back, but it glanced off his chin, and he rolled with the blow, backflipping to the other side of the street. Goku grabbed hold of a lamppost to slow himself, and it came out of the ground in his hand. He swung it at Piccolo as the demonic fighter approached, but Piccolo ducked under the makeshift weapon. Goku discarded it, preparing an energy blast between his hands, but before he could fire, Piccolo vanished from his sight, phasing into view above and to the left of him. Yelping in surprise, Goku was grabbed by Piccolo's extended arm and reeled in, straight into the path of the Namekian's fist. He twisted, trying to clear his head, and managed to strike a return blow, a knee strike to Piccolo's stomach. Piccolo leapt back, landing on a low rooftop, and Goku remained hanging in the air. There! I finally managed to land a hit! Goku's breathing was already heavy. Kaioshin was right. His power has been increased in proportion to his evil. Pure evil. This is going to take everything I've got. Dabura had decided to finish the boy immediately, and had made an attempt to decapitate him. However, he found his sword wrestled from his hand and hurled away. Gohan's strength was simply unbelievable. Dabura could never have imagined such an increase. Dabura lashed out with his fist, now trying to smash his opponent's bones with brute force, but he found every blow deflected. Gohan moved on to the attack, and Dabura had to push himself out of the limits of his reaction time to avoid taking a crippling blow, and he got the feeling that Gohan still wasn't going all out yet. Watching the fight, Launch nodded in approval. There's his old strength back, and then some. Gohan was only throwing the occasional attack, an attempt to keep Dabura moving slowly backwards. For his part, Dabura couldn't land a single hit, finding each of his attacks swinging through thin air or glancing off iron-hard forearms. I don't believe it, Kobito barely said. I must be dreaming. A mortal, and one so young, is overpowering the king of the demons! Get used to it, Raditz said eagerly. He hasn't just got stronger. His battle sense is back too. He's fighting like a martial artist, not a showman. So this is what your son can do if you push him too far, Goku. Goku had lost track of Piccolo again. A flicker of movement registered, almost subconsciously. The Saiyan spun, launching a barrage of ki blasts, chasing Piccolo's half-seen form. Piccolo continued to dodge, and Goku filled the air with lancing, arcing energy beams. Piccolo threaded between them, flying up to his opponent and driving home a back fist. Goku caught his second attack, however. Babidi, he said, something dangerous creeping into his voice. Shouldn't have brought us here. You know what effect all these dead innocents will have on me. Piccolo grunted dismissively. You never met any of them. What do they matter? All life is precious. You never could understand that. But don't think your life is safe because of that. You've caused too much pain! Goku shoved Piccolo away, drawing back his fists. After all these years, you're going to answer for your crimes, Piccolo! He dodged Piccolo's wild preemptive strike, punching the Namekian hard across the face. but receiving a jarring kick in return that dislodged him from his foothold, sending him crashing down through the multiple stories of the house they had stood on. A beeping noise from the device at his side broke Babbidi's reverie, so absorbed was he in the fights taking place. The source of the noise was the energy meter he'd used earlier to measure Raditz's power, now repurposed to indicate the amount of energy stored in Majin Buu's cocoon. What? The wizard stared at the meter in disbelief. It's full already? But the kid is handling Dabura now. Could it be the other fight? He focused with new eyes on the battle between Goku and Piccolo. Such power! I would never have thought there'd have been this much on this whole planet, let alone generated by just a couple of fighters. Well, in any case, can't revive Buu in here. We need some more space. His hands once more raised above his head, mystical energy swirling between his fingers. Goku pulled himself up even as the house crumbled to dust around him. Blazing a trail of light through the debris, Piccolo barreled at him. Goku took the shoulder charge head-on, then spun sideways, letting Piccolo fly past him and tripping him as he went. Piccolo rebounded off the ground one-handed, landing on his feet and turning to face his longtime nemesis. Goku, how long we've hounded one another. I first became aware of your presence through a sickly wrenching in my gut. My servants picked off one by one. As an unknown third party, you left your mark. Then the first time I laid eyes on you, you surpassed my expectations for what a human could accomplish. I left you for dead, and still you hunted me. Against all odds, you killed me. Me? What am I saying? My father. You killed my father. That was when I was born. Then, not only did you defeat me, you played fair, refused help, you chose to forego advantages. Finally, you showed me mercy! Twice! The second time even more insulting as I was defeated in a battle that should have been mine by rights. And would have been, had he not shown up. He shot an ugly look Raditz's way. Goku, too, was feeling introspective. Piccolo, I didn't know your name for a while. I rushed off in a rage, but I despised you. That was the first time I'd fought for revenge, to deliberately kill, even. The monster that took Krillin's life. There was a strange release to it. At first, a sense that I'd accomplished something permanent. But that demon was just a pawn of yours. And I soon realized that Krillin was still gone, and no amount of killing would change that. Oh, I got to you, of course. How many of my friends had died by your hands, or your orders, before I stopped you? When you reincarnated, I hoped you'd changed. You never seemed as bad as your first self. You even grudgingly helped us defend the Earth. But as time went on, I grew increasingly aware that nothing had changed at all. You were just waiting for the right moment to strike. And what better moment than when we all thought you were gone for good? Another thought struck Goku, cutting off his musings. Hey, you aren't still wearing weighted clothing, are you? He asked warily, dreading the thought that Piccolo was about to hurl off his cape and increase his speed even further. Goku got the feeling he was fighting an uphill battle as it is. No, I didn't bother when I created these, Piccolo replied with disinterest. There'd have been no point anyway. A few tons at this level of strength wouldn't provide any challenge in training anymore. Well, that's a relief at least. Goku assumed his fighting stance again. Piccolo, battle hunger lighting up his eyes, formed an energy sphere for battle. Come at me! Even as their fight resumed with just as much intensity as before, a strange sight materialized at the edge of the town. Babidi, standing next to an extremely large sphere, pink, bisected by a joint down the middle, and covered in organic-looking veins. Goku missed again, feeling concrete shatter around his fist, but Piccolo's return blow struck home, and was immediately followed up by two more. Goku retreated, dodging back to avoid the next few attacks. I can't keep up! Everything I hit him with, he's giving it back several times over! Gotta try 4 times 10 and hope I don't miss. He began to concentrate energy through his body, building it up even as he continued to defend himself. Finally, when it had reached its maximum, he gave a shout, his power jumping up in an instant and causing Piccolo to stop short, curious. Goku waited until the last moment to begin moving his hands into the attack pose, giving Piccolo as little warning as he could. Times 10? Piccolo's eyes snapped open wide, and he began to turn, frantic to avoid the attack. Kame-hame! Goku intoned, as Piccolo continued to flee. Then just as it seemed Piccolo was going to be able to dodge, he turned 180 degrees and let the attack fly in the opposite direction. Ha! What? Piccolo was momentarily frozen. Then, recognizing the tactic, he attempted to duck out of the way, as Goku let the force of the blast propel him with a massive burst of speed at Piccolo in a full-body tackle. It wasn't quite fast enough, however, and Goku's leg struck him on the shoulder as he passed. Staggering forwards, Piccolo looked up just in time to see the red-blue beam curving back around towards him. He'd completely forgotten that Goku could control the direction of his signature attack. He opened his mouth for a scream of frustration, but the ki blast engulfed him before he could make a noise. Goku hung in the air, lowering his arms and finally breathing again. Seeing the blackened, twitching body of his enemy, he risked a half smile and let himself entertain the notion of victory. That one took a lot out of me. Still, I'd never have expected to beat Piccolo of all people that quickly. His thoughts stopped halfway through the sentence, obliterated by a feeling not quite pain. Pain was trying to encompass the feeling, and doubtless would in a few minutes, if he was still alive, but for now it couldn't quite suffice. So it was more of a distant feeling, a purely factual knowledge that he was in complete agony, than a feeling itself. Losing the battle for consciousness in his transformed state, Goku's head slumped forwards. In his fading vision, he saw a sight that took him a second to figure out. It looked so out of place. After all, what was Piccolo's hand doing protruding from his abdomen like that, and covered in his blood? The last sound that he heard before the blackness rushed up to envelop him were words that he didn't have time to try and understand. How kind it was of Tien to teach Nail his multi-form technique. Piccolo slid his hand out, and then there was pain. Gohan felt a wave of nausea at the sight. His rage had been slipping, in danger of receding back into his subconscious, but no longer. The fight began to degenerate into a melee. Kaioshin noticed Babidi beginning to closely examine the large object beside him, Majin Buu's cocoon. Kaioshin made a beeline for the wizard, Kibito following on his heels, but Dabura broke away from Gohan and raced to intercept. Gohan seized the chance to charge Piccolo. "You! What do you think you're doing to my dad?" He roared, but Piccolo contemptuously avoided his attack, punting him away. As the Saiyan hybrid skidded back along the ground, Dabura noticed the opportunity, and knocking Kaioshin and Kibito away with the double-handed Ki-ai, and once again summoned his sword, leaping at Gohan and descending towards him, aiming to skewer him. Raditz flew in from beside the demon, turning Super Saiyan 2 effortlessly mid-flight and kicking Dabura through a row of houses. He drew his own sword and rushed off after his new opponent. "You wanted to fight me? Then let's go!" Gohan stood, glaring at Piccolo, but he couldn't ignore his father's critical condition. "Kibito!" he shouted. "Help him!" Kibito turned to Kaioshin, who shook his head. "Buu could be released at any moment! We must hurry! Help him or I'll make you, damn it!" Gohan snarled, firing a ki blast from his eyes at the god's feet and detonating it just short of him. Fearfully, Kibito ran to Goku's side, but Piccolo intercepted, standing between them. "Now, don't go on doing all the hard work that I just did," he jeered. Babidi paled as Kaioshin approached him, launched running up to support him. "Piccolo! I need a few moments more preparation to release Buu! Help me!" "What? No," Piccolo said offhandedly, casting an idle glance to Goku's bleeding, unmoving body. What are you saying?" Babidi hissed. "I order you to protect me! You allowed me to possess you! You cannot resist my commands!" "I'm changing the deal," Piccolo muttered. "I'm not moving until this man is beyond help, and his brother is next." "Don't give me that!" Babidi clenched his fists, sending Piccolo a magical compulsion to obey. "Your personal vendetta is meaningless to me!" All others on the battlefield were entranced by this strange drama. Babidi's hands glowed slightly, and Piccolo grunted in pain, bending as if under some immense weight. He put one hand on the floor to steady himself. His mind, it seemed, was gone, being overpowered by a machine, a mechanism for serving the wizard like Dabura and the rest had become. He felt himself slipping, but something remained, a solid bastion within his mind, untouched by the ravages of Babidi's spell. He forced words to form, giving shape to his resistance. You think you can give me orders? You don't know who I am, or where I've come from. You cannot command me. I command. I rule. I am the Demon King Piccolo! His words rang out with conviction. I was born to lead, not to serve, least of all to some sniveling magician. He made himself stand, his power burning around him. I bow to no one! This last effort broke Babidi's hold, the wizard even feeling a slight physical shock, feedback from his overloaded spell. What happened? He resisted my orders. That's never happened before. What mighty willpower. Another, more physical battle was in progress, high above the town. Raditz didn't give an inch, laying into Dabura with startling aggression. His strikes were as fast as they were unpredictable. At least this time, Dabura was ready to fight another sword wielder. and his weapon wasn't instantly destroyed by the Kachin blade. The clanging of their swords meeting rose to such a high frequency that it blended into a monotonous drone, a continuous shriek of metal warring against metal. Finally, Dabura slowed slightly, made an error. Raditz parried, countering instantly. Dabura moved to block, but found he'd reacted to a mere feint, and Raditz's attack instantaneously changed direction. His sword danced through the air, piercing Dabura's sword arm just above the elbow. The demon cried out, jerking away and pulling himself off the blade, but found he dropped his own weapon in the process. He was about to summon another when Raditz vanished, teleporting above him using instant transmission and bringing the hilt of his sword down on Dabura's head. Dabura dropped, stunned, to the pavement below, throwing out a vast cobweb of cracks beneath him. Raditz landed gracefully behind him, silently sheathing his sword. One down. His calm demeanor, however, was only skin deep. Now that he's out of the way, my priorities are clear. Majin Buu can wait. Piccolo stood resolutely between Kibito and the dying, saying, "Don't worry. In a few seconds there won't be anything to worry about." A noise like the rushing of air, barely noticeable but to his sensitive Namekian ears, alerted Piccolo. He turned, seeing Raditz standing with Goku's body in his arms. The older brother's face was still calm, but deep hatred burned in his eyes. "I'll be back for you," he promised, then vanished with instant transmission. Piccolo was about to scream in frustration when an exuberant cackle from Babidi interrupted him.
"Yes!"
the wizard screamed.
"Yes, it is complete! It's finally ready! Majin Buu shall live again! I started the process now! You cannot stop it!"
The anger contorting Piccolo's features washed away, instantly replaced with a cunning smile. Babidi was about to continue his celebrations when a hand about his neck cut off his breathing and hoisted him into the air. "Can't cast spells if you can't speak, eh?" Piccolo said slyly. "Now you're going to do exactly as I say. Majin Buu is a magically created creature, is he not?" Babidi nodded. "A creature of pure evil, even." Another nod. "Interesting." He paused, letting Babidi splutter in vain for breath. "Right. I'm going to release you. You're going to cast a spell you used on me, on Majin Buu." He saw the confused look in the wizard's eyes. "No doubt you think it's impossible. It won't work." "Well, I'm just curious like that." "It was because of what I said," Kaioshin realized. "Yes, that's right." Piccolo flashed a fanged grin the deity's way. "You said you know of no being more evil than me, other than Buu, and the spell empowers someone based on the evil in their heart." Kibito looked grave. "But there's no way of knowing what effect it'll have on a being like Buu, already born out of similar magics itself. Piccolo, however, has nothing to lose if it fails." Piccolo set Babidi down. "If you do anything else, raise a hand towards me, anything but what I have instructed. I will kill you faster than you can speak a syllable. Now, do it."
"Gohan, stop him!"
Kaioshin pleaded. "Kibito is right. The consequences are completely unknown. Buu could be destroyed, or become 1,000 times more terrible." He scarcely had to ask. Gohan was already headed for Piccolo while the demon's attention was temporarily diverted. Piccolo absent-mindedly flicked his hand out, launching a kiai at Gohan. But he had underestimated the young warrior. Instead of being blasted away, Gohan crashed straight through the wave of force, barely breaking stride, and collided with Piccolo. The two went down in a tangle of limbs, and emerged with Gohan grappling with Piccolo from behind, struggling to keep him immobile. Babidi considered his options.
"Now, he can't kill me so easily. But doubtless he will overcome this child. And if I do not do as he commands, he will become aggressive. He's proven his prowess already. And I can't just try and kill Piccolo now while he's occupied, or these three will be free to kill me before Buu is released. I suppose I have no choice."
Gritting his teeth and screwing his eyes shut, he cast the spell. Raditz, raising 2 fingers to his forehead to return, having delivered Goku to Dende for healing, gave a cry of shock. "Too late! Buu's coming out!" Goku, a ragged hole in his gi but his flesh repaired, ran up behind him. "Wait up a sec!" He placed his hand on his older brother's shoulder. "Okay, go! You don't have to tell me." Piccolo had managed to throw Gohan off, and the Super Saiyan was preparing to attack again when Buu's cocoon began to emit great gouts of steam. "I'll destroy it!" Gohan decided, throwing a 2-handed energy bolt at the sphere. However, at that instant it cracked in half, and the blast passed between the 2 parts, exploding harmlessly a mile or 2 behind. From within the cocoon, an enormous cloud of pink smoke rolled forth, slowly dissipating in wisps and clumps. Within it, slowly emerging from the smoke, nothing. The cocoon was empty. Babidi stared, wide-eyed, mouth opening and closing a few times silently. He sank to his knees, feeling the weight of all his fruitless years of searching bear down on him.
All this time? For nothing? All my life I have spent in pursuit of this one goal!
He got no farther than that. Piccolo blasted him to atoms with a pair of explosive eye-beams. He then turned his attention back to the others. Finally, that runt was really starting to get on my nerves. A small noise, a shimmer of displaced air, and Raditz and Goku had returned. You just never stop, do you? Goku asked. What was the point of all that? I don't really know, Piccolo admitted. It just seemed like a good idea at the time. Shame, I would have liked to see Buu, especially the effects of that spell on him. I guess I'll have to kill them all myself. No great loss. There was a long pause, after which Raditz raised his head towards the sky, and said slowly, You might not be disappointed. What are you? Piccolo stopped, turning his eyes up to whatever Raditz was looking at. Quickly, the others did the same. The cloud of pink smoke that had been released from Buu's cocoon was still there, hanging high over them. Far from dissipating, in fact. It was coalescing, drawing together, solidifying. Something was emerging. That's it for Chapter 78. I'll see you in Chapter 79 in just a few seconds. Stay tuned. The thing in the smoke was becoming clearer. Not in the smoke, Raditz corrected himself. It was the smoke, and it was forming into a solid shape. Humanoid? Yes, it seems so. And abruptly, there it was. Humanoid, yes, but round and pudgy at that. Bright, garish pink. Its tubby, dumbly smiling face was topped with a short, curving tentacle? Antenna? It was clad in a black gold-trimmed jacket that was far too small for its expansive torso, short baggy pants from which protruded stick-like legs and black leggings. The outfit was completed with childish mittens, boots, and a knotted cape. All in all, it appeared that the great and terrible Majin Buu was anything but. The only indication of its affiliation with Babidi was the M insignia on its belt buckle. Kaioshin, however, seemed petrified. He choked on his words, staring in horror at the ridiculous creature, which for the moment made no move. Is this really what you were so afraid of? Raditz snorted. Come on, look at it! Yes, this is the monster that threatened the entire universe, Kaioshin confirmed, voice shaking. And now that Babidi is dead, there is no way of resealing it. It's exactly as I remember it. Exactly? So the spell had no effect. Scarcely had this thought passed through Raditz's mind when he tensed up, detecting high-speed movement. Dabura, having recovered his senses, appeared in front of Buu. Shit, is that all? He peered at the dumbly smiling creature. What a waste of time and effort. Though perhaps you will be some aid in occupying some of the many enemies that now beset us. At this, Buu finally showed a reaction. It grinned widely, and put one foot forward in a comically exaggerated fashion, taking almost clumsy steps towards Dabura. It gestured in a display of animalistic aggression as it slowly approached him. Dabura laughed out loud. Oh, you want to fight me? Seems it's not just your body's power that has degenerated in the millennia you were stored away. You lost your mind too. What do you think you're doing? Buu merely glowered at him, waving its stubby arms wildly. Steam began to pour out into the air from previously unnoticed pores on its head, shoulders, and upper arms. Dabura raised his guard in a leisurely fashion, intending to humor the clearly insane creature. Inches away from the demon, Buu suddenly lowered its head, expression flashing into a malevolent grin. Goku gasped, feeling a flicker at the edge of his mind. What? This key! Buu's bald fist shot up, hitting Dabura in the chin. The apparently casual movement had been struck with speed and force that could only be described as unbelievable, and Dabura was hurled away, trailing blood and collapsing in a heap. Buu giggled, hopping from one foot to the other in a victory dance. Boo! 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 Piccolo walked up to the creature, who was facing away from him. Seems you're not completely worthless after all. Listen, he pointed to himself. Your boss is dead. I'm in charge now. So you're going to do what I say if you want to live. Ignoring him, Buu chuckled to itself, apparently crouched over something and examining it. Piccolo tried to peer over its shoulder. What are you? Spinning on the spot, Buu startled Piccolo, yelling and waving its tongue at him. After letting out an involuntary shout in surprise, Piccolo flashed his fangs at the playful being. Don't pull that crap on me, you! I told you, I'm in charge here! In order to establish his dominance over Buu, he swung his fist full force into its face. Majin Buu made no move to block or dodge, letting the punch knock its head to the side. Then, with disrespectful nonchalance, it raised its own hand, grasping Piccolo about the wrist and wrenching his hand away from its face. Piccolo, angered, pushed back, but couldn't overpower Buu. Snarling in frustration, he ripped free of its grasp, rubbing his aching hand as he stepped away. "Damn you!" he muttered. Buu simply laughed. Hey, Raditz was striding towards Piccolo and Buu, totally calm. The Supreme Kai tasked me with stopping Buu from being released, and failing that, destroying it before it does any damage. We've just seen that it's certainly capable of that. He stopped a few meters away, standing about halfway between Piccolo and Buu and his allies. So I hope nobody will mind if I take this one from here. Kibito couldn't restrain his outburst. On your own? Suicide! Kaioshin put a hand on Kibito's shoulder. I may have expressed such sentiments with the previous fights, but this warrior is on a whole different level. His enemy too. He gazed sternly at Raditz's retreating back. Anyone else intervening would just be getting in the way. Raditz heard this and allowed himself to be pleased by it. Hey, Buu! He called to the vacuous pink creature. You like to fight, huh? Buu nodded happily.
Buu like fight, but Buu get hungry if Buu fight too long. Buu like food even more than fight.
Remind you of any species? Raditz mused. Well, I'm sure you can have plenty of food, if you can beat me.
Ooh!
Buu clapped his hands together, cackling.
Hairman wanna fight Buu?
Hairman, huh? Raditz smirked. You just wait. Piccolo shrugged, standing well back. Knock yourself out. Welcome the chance to see what Buu can do. And you too, come to think of it. You can tell that wasn't my full power against Dabura. I'd have been blind if I couldn't. Buu waved its hands in the vague direction of a combat stance.
Fight now! Fight Buu now!
Raditz turned back to Buu, nodded. Alright, but I'll have to become a Super Saiyan first. Buu looked puzzled, which, to be fair, was only a step away from its usual vacant. Super Saiyajin? Close enough. Raditz began to summon up his internal spiritual power. What you see here is my base form. Now, I like to think I'm pretty powerful, but after what you did to Dabura, I hold no illusions about being able to fight you like this. So next, we have Super Saiyan. And Super Saiyan 2! He transformed up to the second Super Saiyan form as he talked. Woo! Buu said. Raditz half expected it to follow up with pretty lights or some such. But there's something unsettling about your ki. Or maybe it's the dramatic occasion, Raditz thought aloud. Either way, today I feel like pulling out all the stops. What? Piccolo thought. What could be stronger than the Ascended form? What's he gonna do, double ascend? It's gotta be a bluff. Raditz let out a scream of exertion, nigh agony, escaping from between clenched teeth as burning gold streams of light enveloped his body. His hands, clenched into fists, were flung out to his sides, and the world seemed to shake around him. This! No, quite impossible. The senior seismologist, devouring a bagel, assured the intern beside him. An earthquake does not appear that suddenly, nor reach that magnitude instantly. Nevertheless, she protested. Look! The readings! The seismologist was about to scoff and say that the instruments must be wrong, when the entire room began to shake, hurling the delicate instruments to the floor and smashing them. The pair dived for cover. My word! He exclaimed. But the distance the epicenter is from here. If it were a quake, we wouldn't have felt a thing. What on earth could generate such force? Brian pushed himself up on the picnic blanket with his elbows. See? There it is. I told you the sunrise is beautiful from here. Sasha looked to where he was pointing. Indeed, a bright light was visible breaking over the horizon. Unexpectedly, it grew to blinding intensity, rising to a great column of shining gold. That... is it the sun? What the hell? General Ripper frowned, receiving a report through his earpiece. He stood up from the conference table, heading over to the corner of the room. Excuse me, gentlemen. What do you mean, gone offline? Military satellites don't just go offline. Do you know how much we invested in... He paused. What? Electrical interference? In space? Don't be ridiculous. If something generated that much energy... His voice trailed off. He had a very good idea of what was capable of generating that much energy. In fact, generally flaunting the laws of reality as he understood them. Something that terrified him, though he didn't like to admit it. He was not a religious man. He did not pray. But with all his being, he hoped. Is Super Saiyan 3. Launch raised her head out of the cover she'd found.
Wow, and I thought I'd achieved something. This is like...
She stared at her transformed partner.
Like his physical body can't contain his ki. The physical change is just the tip of the iceberg. From an energy sensing perspective, it's like being an insect standing at the feet of a titan.
Beyond the physical shell, when one truly saw a Saiyan's life force, he became a terrifying being of purest light. Perhaps something more than mortal.
Oh yeah! You cool!
Majin Buu cheered. Raditz, head still ringing, turned his vision towards Buu. I guess you can't sense ki. You should be proud of yourself. Nobody since Janemba has ever pushed me this far.
Buu kill you! Buu have fun!
The creature declared. It shuffled a foot forward slightly. In the time it took to half complete that one step, Raditz was upon it, and his first punch launched it flying through the air. He touched down with one foot, watching Buu sail away. It cartwheeled in the air, wheeling around and coming up to a halt. Half crouching in a parody of a runner's starting position, it rocketed back towards Raditz, ungracefully, but with surprising speed. It didn't damage it as much as I'd hoped. He intercepted its charge with a kick to the stomach, halting it in its tracks and doubling it over. His foot seemed to sink slightly into its doughy skin? Was that even skin anyway? He pushed the thought aside, meeting Buu snap forward's head with a sharp right uppercut, before drawing back his left hand and landing another punch to Buu's head, launching a Ki simultaneously at the same spot. Buu was thrown back with even greater force, carving a destructive trail through the town as it skidded along the ground. Raditz dusted off his hands. Touching Buu brought with it a strange, unnatural feeling that he had no wish to repeat. It shouldn't take too long. Buu is pretty strong, and maybe back when he was around before, he was the strongest being in the universe. But we've grown beyond him. Kaioshin and Kibito could scarcely believe what they were seeing. Kaioshin especially, having previously had to bear witness to his fellow Supreme Kais being slaughtered by Bibidi's monster.
Raditz is picking Buu apart,
he said in a hushed whisper, almost afraid to say it aloud as if that would cause it to become untrue. Kibito looked slightly dubious. True, for the moment. But Buu doesn't seem to have suffered more than a few scrapes from even that last attack. Its durability is remarkable. Raditz, hearing this, smiled. Still, I did leave a mark. Compared to Janemba, this is going to be easy. Buu was on its feet again, and once more billowed steam.
Buu don't like you! Buu kill!
It was stopped mid-sentence by a spearhead piercing through its head from behind. There was no blood or gore. It was just there, as if slotted into an existing hole. Dabura stood behind Buu, chest heaving with exhaustion, face covered in blood. One arm was extended. It was clear it had been he who'd thrown the spear, and seemingly killed Majin Buu. Eh? Piccolo frowned, disappointed. Is that all it took? Raditz lowered his arms, face falling. Aw man, I was enjoying that. Kaioshin shook his head. No, you fool! Don't let your guard down! Before anyone could make a move, however, Buu turned around. Dabura did a double take, jumping away in shock, then watching, horrified as it reached up and removed the spear from its head. It threw it aside, frowning a little as the hole in its head closed up, like liquid rushing in to fill a vacuum. Dabura edged away warily. Damn it!
Buu hungry!
Majin Buu declared, stomping towards Dabura.
Should Buu make you cookie?
Dabura was almost frozen in confusion at this nonsensical statement. What?
Or chocolate!
Buu tapped his head for a few seconds, then seemed to come to a decision.
Buu want cookie!
With that, its antenna snapped forwards, pointing directly at Dabura, and began to glow with a soft pink light. It grew into a jagged beam, arcing through the air and striking Dabura, illuminating its twitching body in its sickly color. And just as Buu has instructed, the king of the demons was transfigured into a giant Dabura-shaped cookie. Almost all were stunned into silence. Buu trotted over to the cookie and picked it up, happily licking its lips. Piccolo managed to recover his sense. I was counting on Dabura to even out the numerical disadvantage. This isn't good. Majin Buu! Put that cookie down! He ordered.
Nyah!
Buu spat, waving its tongue at Piccolo. Put that cookie down now! He roared, knowing full well how strange that would sound out of context. In reply, Buu shoved the entire thing into its mouth, swallowing the enormous food in one gulp. Excuse me. Raditz appeared between Piccolo and Buu, arms folded. I hate to interrupt your snack, but we were fighting.
Buu not hungry no more!
Buu supplied helpfully.
Buu fight now!
It raised its fists, waving them like a child pretending to be a boxer. Tien gasped, falling to his knees. I'm back to normal? What happened? He felt a sharp shock in his mind. There's a lot of power levels off in that direction, and they're all gigantic. He stood up, indecisive for a brief moment, then made up his mind. I doubt I can make much of a difference in a fight like that. I better head for the World Tournament and let everyone know what's happening. Buu drew its arm back, amateurishly telegraphing its punch, but Raditz knew not to underestimate it. When it did strike, he knew it would be much faster than its appearance suggested. However, Buu never attacked. Its face suddenly contorted in pain, and it bent double, hissing. Steam gushed from the pores on its head and arms, completely obscuring it from view. Came its anguished voice. From within the cloud of steam, the M marked burned like a beacon, now a fiery color. Raditz took a step back. What's this? Piccolo nodded, noting the M. Maybe that spell's finally starting to take effect. But surely in a creature like Majin Buu, there's no dormant evil to bring out, Kabuto objected. Kaioshin was rooted to the spot, eyes wide. No, not again! He's changing! Back to normal! Normal? Launch, who had been standing near the pair, looked from Kaioshin to Buu and back. What's that mean, normal? Kaioshin struggled to keep his voice calm as he spoke, addressing the various assembled fighters. The Majin Buu you saw was not his original form. When Bibidi first created him, Buu had the stature of a child, but was even more powerful than he is now. One by one, the Kaioshins tried to fight him, but all perished. Our greatest warrior, the South Kaioshin, was on the verge of defeating Buu when it absorbed him, taking on his muscular appearance and his great strength. Finally, to stop Buu, the Grand Kaioshin let himself be absorbed, allowing Buu to receive his almost childish personality and, I know not how, severely weakening it in the process. This created the playful, almost innocent Buu you fought so far. I see, Goku said. So if that spell draws out hidden evil, it's going to turn Buu back to its original self? What else could this be? Before he could say any more, a massive ki spike stabbed through all their minds. Majin Buu slowly emerged from the steam cloud, giving everyone a feeling of deja vu. It was tall now, dwarfing even Piccolo, and heavily muscled. Its eyes were pitch black and sunken in, with eerie, hollow red rings for pupils. It was still obviously the same being. The pink skin, the steam pores, the antenna, but in a completely new aspect. It wore only long baggy white pants, black armbands trimmed with gold, and matching boots. Its expression, at first blank, slowly shifted to a malevolent leer. Oh. Raditz tried to make sense of the situation. This is the muscular one, right? After Buu absorbed the South Kaioshin? Kaioshin shook his head. I'm afraid not. That Buu was still a child's height, and its muscles were truly massive. Unnaturally so. I have never seen this before. I'm of no help to you here, but if it's anything like the original Buu, all it wants is to destroy, with no sense or reason. At least the fat one could be pacified or sealed away when Babidi was still alive. You. The new Majin Buu's voice was like an amplified whisper. If a knife could talk, this would be what it sounded like. It pointed one stubby finger at Raditz. You're strongest here. Piccolo, though he inwardly knew this was true, couldn't help scowling at this snub. Raditz seemed surprised. So, this Buu can sense ki, huh? Well, as for you, there's still something weird about you, and I can't quite gauge the full extent of your power. But you're definitely stronger than the other one. I'll kill you. It was a statement of fact, devoid of aggression. You're welcome to try. Raditz dashed at Buu, drawing his sword and striking in one swift motion. Buu, however, caught the blade one-handed. Raditz grinned. Gotcha. A shockwave blasted out from his sword's blade, slashing Buu diagonally from shoulder to hip and slicing it clean in two. A little trick I picked up from Janemba. With that, he punched with his free hand, sending Buu's top half flying away. It pushed out its ki behind it, stopping itself. And Raditz realized with a start that in the brief instant before it had been hit, Buu had pulled his sword away and cast it to the ground. He growled, turning to run for it, but then to his surprise, Buu's lower half began to move of its own accord, attacking him furiously. Again, there was no blood on the wound, only a flat expanse of pink. Raditz leapt back, blocking the relentless barrage of kicks. Finally, he found a small opening, dodging away and diving for his sword. He grabbed it, rolled and came up in time to see Buu's fist making straight for his face. The crack of the blow, which through sheer physical force, completely obliterated the town, Babidi's ship and the surrounding countryside, reducing everything to rubble, almost deafened the observers. When they looked again, Buu had simply settled back onto its lower half, rejoining effortlessly, and Raditz was gone. Where is he? Launch asked, anxious. A long way away, Piccolo said furiously. Somehow Buu knew just how hard to hit him, and at what angle to let gravity stop Raditz from escaping Earth's atmosphere.
What are you talking about?
Your boyfriend just landed, Piccolo grunted, on the other side of the planet. 2/3 of the Earth is covered in water, so it's not surprising that Raditz landed in the ocean. He only blacked out for a moment, short enough that he remained in Super Saiyan 3, then propelled himself back up out of the sea, spluttering and trying to focus his dazed vision.
What strength?
A gleam of light appeared on the horizon.
What? No, he couldn't be here already. Nobody's that fast.
The gleam grew into a blaze, then a blur of movement shot past him. Fearfully, Raditz turned his head, seeing Buu behind him, facing away. You just ran halfway around the world?
So?
Buu turned to face him.
Other Buu say, kill you. Have fun.
It pounded its fists together.
What Buu say, Buu do!
Raditz groaned. His conversation hasn't improved, at least. How do I beat this thing? He tensed up, preparing to attack, but Buu was already gone. Its foot hit its back with a jarring crunch, flipping him over. He recovered, wheeling around and rushing Buu. It raised one arm to block, and he grabbed hold of the limb two-handed, snapping it fully backwards. However, it instantly bent back into place, repairing itself. In response, Buu ducked around him, snatching a handful of his knee-length hair and throwing him away by it. Raditz winced. The pain in his forehead was jarring as it was unexpected.
Crap!
Got with shorter hair for a few years. Kinda forgot about that.
You're boring,
Buu declared.
Kill you now!
It rushed at him, swinging a full-force punch, but swiped through an afterimage. Will you? Raditz said from behind it. You'll have to catch me first. Roaring, Buu swung around, throwing a ki blast, but it passed through a second afterimage. Then it fell for a third, lashing out as it heard movement from behind it.
Stop hiding!
Buu yelled. Oh, I'm right here. Raditz's voice came from inches away. Buu's eyes opened wide as it felt a sudden buildup of energy.
Kamehameha!
Raditz shouted, the concentrated energy beam blowing right through Buu's midsection, ripping its torso to shreds. Its head and limbs floated separately for a second. Ha! Raditz grinned. Of course, he might still regenerate. Better disintegrate to pieces before he... A blunt impact to the back of the head, Buu's disembodied leg kicking him, interrupted his thoughts, launching him down towards the sea. The water did nothing to slow his hypersonic speed, and he plowed straight into the seabed, burrowing deep underground. Not good, Goku muttered. Raditz's power is dropping fast, and Boost just keeps rising! Hey, Launch looked down at the ground. Is it just me, or is he... Raditz, battered and bloody, burst out of the ground in front of them, soaring into the sky, then plummeting back to Earth like a falling star. He finally managed to get some control over his flight, landing shakily. I'm... back? He hit me all the way through the planet. Janemba was nothing compared to this! Damn it, how come every time I use Super Saiyan 3, somebody even stronger comes along and I get my ass kicked? He grimaced as Buu, finally healed, rose out of the hole he'd been flung through, that same mocking grin still plastered on his face. I'm not beaten yet! He shouted, diving back towards Buu. It kicked him in the side, spinning him around, and he used the momentum to add speed to his return punch, snapping its head a full 180 degrees around. Slowly, its neck twisted back to its normal position. His arms shook as he tried to keep his guard up. His vision was still blurred, and he felt his power slipping from him. Still leering, Buu easily took hold of his leg, descending rapidly and smashing him brutally into the ground. That, finally, was too much. Raditz lost consciousness, gold fading to black, lying still. Is he? Kaioshin asked fearfully. Buu crouched down, sniffing Raditz's unmoving body. Dead, it said gravely, with a hint of satisfaction. An instant later, it was knocked sideways as Piccolo crashed into it with a flying kick. He dropped to the ground in front of it, grim-faced. I've tried taking a look into your thoughts. Nothing but chaos there, and death. I doubt you take orders from me. Buu stood up straight, rolling its head from side to side. Thought so. This is my planet, you hear? I can't rule it if you destroy everything! He lunged, but Buu caught his arm, bringing its elbow down on his head and putting him down in an instant. Kamehameha! Buu whirled, spotting Goku just behind it, swinging a ball of energy towards it. Hurriedly, it raised a hand to block. Times 10! Buu realized the power of the attack almost too late, twitching to the side. The beam roared past it, leaving it minus one arm. It growled, kicking Goku into the air, leaning back and then releasing an incandescent ki beam from its mouth, piercing right through Goku's body for the second time that day. The force of the beam carried him with it, bleeding horribly, and the Saiyan was hurled over the horizon and out of sight. Dad! Gohan rushed Buu, who had scarcely regrown its arm before Gohan was upon it. It dodged a few quick strikes before smacking him aside and making straight for Kaioshin. Launch tried to intercept, but Kiai took her down, and a second floored Kaioshin. Kibito stood among the carnage, trembling. Buu approached him slowly. Most Shin'en, the heavenly race he belonged to, while long-lived, don't live for nearly as long as those special few who become the Kaioshin. As such, Kibito, despite his aged appearance, was actually much younger than his charge. He had never seen Majin Buu until now. He had scarcely believed that any creature created by a mortal could possibly match the Kaioshin. But now, feeling himself almost swallowed up by those red-on-black eyes, having seen the ease with which the universe's greatest warriors had fallen before the Thing, he understood. Majin Buu was no mere monster or demon. It was chaos and death incarnate. It would not stop, or tire, or die. It could not be defeated. It was the end of all things, the insane, laughing death scream of the universe. Buu raised one hand, preparing to kill him, as casually if it was swatting a fly. Kibito simply awaited death. Why try to run? Where could it not follow him? Energy crackled between Buu's fingers. Then after a single second which seemed to drag on for hours, it fired. At that instant, Kibito felt himself roughly shoved aside. He turned and saw the moment, suspended in time as if photographed. Buu's energy bullet was halfway to its target, which was now the Kaioshin. The older Shin'en had tackled Kibito, pushing him out of the way, and was now, in this frozen moment, hanging in midair, Buu's attack inches away. Despairing, Kibito shut his eyes.
Greetings, young one. What is your name? Kibito, my lord. I hear you are to be my retainer.
Yes, sir.
Very good. I see a strong mind within you. We will need that, for I alone must do the work of all 5 down the long millennia until the next generation is born. It will not be easy, but history will remember us as torchbearers. Can you accept this responsibility, Kibito? Is your hair graying?
Only a little, my lord.
You must envy me.
It is true, but you don't appear to have aged a day since we met.
It's hard, you know, getting to know someone, then having to carry on without him, over and over and over. I had you marked out, you know. I saw you with the other children, learning the healing arts.
You did? Sir?
Yes. And then I saw one, a long-haired, red-skinned child. Such dedication in those eyes. The teacher told me he'd been awake for 23 cycles, and wouldn't leave until he'd done it perfectly. It seems such a short while ago.
I am flattered, my lord.
It's hard not to think of you all as children sometimes. I must try to remember that by mortal standards, all of us are possessed of extraordinary longevity.
I hope that my age will not impair my ability to serve you, sir. If you wish, I can search for a suitable replacement.
Nonsense, Kibito. I won't hear of it. You know what I'm like. How could I ever get anything done without you?
After an agonizing few seconds in which his body, racked with destructive energy, had convulsed like a mad puppet, Kaioshin's lifeless form collapsed. Kibito reached out a futile hand. No! You can't! It was my job to protect you! He clenched his fists, glaring with impotent fury at Buu, who simply laughed. You bastard, get back here! Came Gohan's voice from behind. He charged in, punching Buu across the face and staggering it away. The demonic creature growled. So many of you! It took to the skies, hovering high above its scattered enemies. It raised its hands, forming a massive energy sphere and hurling it down at them. Die! Yeah! Gohan's threats became an inarticulate scream as he collided with the attack, desperately trying to shove it back. It was too powerful, and he sunk back to the ground, barely holding it above his head. It felt like an entire planet was crushing down on him. Seemingly satisfied, Buu left them to die, heading off to find something else to destroy. Well, Buu isn't screwing around. We went straight from Fat Buu to Super Buu, and he is laying down a beating on those Z-fighters. With Raditz supposedly dead, and Buu off to destroy something else. And all of our other fighters either incapacitated or dead. How will we be able to defeat Buu now? You'll have to wait till next week Thank you for tuning in to chapter 78 and 79. Don't forget to like, favorite, comment, and subscribe. Tell your friends. Follow me on Twitter to keep up to date with the show. And as always, I'll see you in the next video. Stay safe. Ginger Power signing off.